So my name is Amy Mock, and I have three girls inside the school, inside the École. So I found the École to be quite interesting in terms of what it offers. And when I first thought about it, it was a little bit of more of a family experiment for us. We had started our children off with three languages. I myself speak Chinese. I don't speak French. We're not a French-speaking family. My husband speaks Korean, so he started the children with Korean. And English is all around us because we live in New York City. So it's quite dynamic in that respect. And then we wanted to see what would it mean to give a child a fourth language. And more importantly, what would it mean to give a child a fourth language at a young age, whether or not that makes an impact for the child, and see what that carries on in terms of language and just overall cognitive ability. So prior to going to the École, my husband and I, we pretty much went on a search to find out, well, does it make sense? What happens if we get a child who gets confused about all the different languages that happen? And we did our research. We did a little bit of research. I can't say too much, but we sought out linguists to ask them what would their suggestion be. And we've come to learn that it really helps in terms of for a child as their brain is growing and before they even get into language, before they even get into the more sophisticated types of language like reading or writing, that it really helps for them to solidify by single adult contact, I'll say. And from that, we learned that École was really the perfect fit for us to try to do that with a fourth language. I say that because at home for us, I speak Chinese with my children. So I'm that solid adult parental figure. My husband does Korean, so he's that parental figure for the Korean language. And then, like I said, English is all around us because we live in New York City. So when we visited and toured École, it was quite nice for me to hear that there were two full-time teachers at the school. We had one that was purely a French-speaking teacher and one that was purely an English-speaking teacher. And truthfully, that in itself really helped me understand that I think that in this school would fit best for my children because you had two solid single language speaking teachers inside the classroom to maintain it and really not waver. So from there on, we enrolled our oldest in nursery. So she was 3 years old at the time. And wonderfully, 5 years later, we slowly enrolled our other children. We toured a couple of bilingual schools. And when we looked at École, for me as a parent, there were two deciding factors. One, I did care that it was a smaller school, smaller community, because my children are also small. And I think that with greater ratio between a teacher and children, I think that kind of loses the effect of really being able to reach a child. So it was very helpful to me to see that École had about one class per grade at the time. And now it has grown, which is still really nice because it's good to see that my children have more friends, I'll say, to interact with, to play with. But at the same time, the adult to child ratio is still small in comparison to other schools that we've had toured in the past. And for me, I think being in Flatiron made a lot of sense because it was easy to get to. You have all these different subway stations in the area. I find it quite interesting because I have three to really kind of see through the years whether or not we've made the right choice because every child is different. And we've still decided to put all three of our children in the same school. Now, I've noticed from my children, and I can't say for so many other children, but I've noticed for my children, with the 4 different languages that we give them, the first thing that I noticed that they do wonderfully is that they're very easy to adapt. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the first ones to raise their hand or be quick to say a response or to give their feelings about a matter that's happening. In fact, my children, and I see it, I almost see their brains taking a step back, metaphorically, and what they do is they think about the situation, they scan what's going on around them, either it be an adult speaking in one language and a second adult speaking in another language. So I found it to be really an area where I can see it calms them because it lets them to kind of step back, even as a child is 7 years old, and that's my oldest is 7, it allows her to step back and just scan what's going on of the people in front of them as well as the situation in front of them before she makes a response and before she decides which language she needs to respond in. And ultimately, that would carry through based on who she's talking with. But I see it mostly in my oldest because, she's had a few more years in her, of course, and I can see her development change. With my little ones, it's slowly getting there. My 6-year-old, I can see her, having certain frustrations about language, but at the same time, I can also see her being able to kind of stop at a certain situation and then decide, okay, this is how I would like to respond. So in that respect, it's quite agile to watch how they're it's almost metaphysical in my opinion, to see how they would just stop at a moment's time at age 7, at age 6, even at age 3. If I had to use one word to describe what the École is, the one word that springs to mind is bicultural. Not only is it, it's one thing to be a bilingual school. I feel that the École went deeper, and I feel a bicultural experience from it.